Hey traders, David Frost, My Strategic Forecast. You're here for another episode of Common Sense Market Analysis. Today is Tuesday, January 23, 2024. We are looking at a daily chart of the SPY or Spider, which is the proxy for the S&P 500. What do we have on the docket today? Not a lot different than we had yesterday. They did not make a new high, but they're still at new highs. They're high on the chart. They're extended and getting more extended away from home base. Not much has changed since yesterday, but the market is up a little bit more, about 1/3%, translated to $1.40, around 14-15 S&P handles. No material change on the daily chart. No material change on the weekly chart. The weekly close is important. Closing at a new all-time high on the week, just like last week, will be follow through. It's bullish until you see a sign and or signal of a trend change. Where are you going to likely see one first? Intraday, daily chart, not necessarily the weekly chart. You could even see one on an hourly chart. You can see it on a 5-minute chart. Everything morphs from smaller time frames onto larger time frames. The larger time frames are the dominant force driving the tape. Everything is a fractal of everything else. Just for fun, we're going to take a little detour into the automagical algo alert system lazy swing trader situation. Yesterday we closed out Citi. Where was Citi bought? Under 51 a few days ago. Where was Citi sold? This is a daily chart, doesn't look like much. 53.28 yesterday. Guess what? That's about 8% in a few days. Okay, let's move on. About a 2-hour chart of CAR, Avis Budget. Well, 162.54 entry, 172.58 exit this morning. The stock collapsed after the exit. How you doing? How does it know? How does that work? 9% gain in a few days. For the record, that's all. Do we have anything material to discuss that wasn't discussed yesterday in the S&P, the SPY? The answer is no. How is day trading today? Right of the vertical is today's activity. This is a 5-minute chart. Is this volatile or not volatile? It's not. It's not a trader's tape. Doesn't mean a trader couldn't make money today. We'll get to that in a few minutes. I'm just saying, generally speaking, it wasn't a trader's tape. We have to take it at face value. We can't impose our will on the market. We have to accept the market that's in front of us. Is this a trader's tape today? No. Inside the numbers, real quick. It was turnaround Tuesday. We have 484. It's important with pivot-ish qualities. It's the pivot. If they're above it, the door is open to push to 485 and change around yesterday's highs. And remember, pause the video, read the notes, go back to the chart to double check the work. Let's zero in a little bit at 9 o'clock a.m., 30 minutes before the bell rings. Below the pivot, we're looking for the gap left open the other day, 482.42. That's unfinished business, an area where even if slightly below that, down to 482, we expect a bounce back in the other direction. They didn't even get down there this morning. Again, pause the video, read the notes, go back to the chart and double check the work. Taking into account what type of slow tape it already was in the pre-market, I'm stretching it even. 482.78 yesterday's lows. That becomes a zone, 482.78 to 482 for a bounce back in the other direction. Low of day, how about 482.89? They just wouldn't give us the long entry price / zone. Pause the video, read the notes, go back to the chart, and double check the work. Below 484, there's an opportunity to dip. They didn't dip enough. Above it, there's an opportunity to rally up above 485 and change. And as you can see into the closing bell today, 485 and change. That's where the blue line demarks against price. 485 and change. They spiked it, closed slightly below. Stocks on the move. We had LOGI, Logitech, jump the target meaning it jumped all three numbers. It was off the board. It's a no trade. Triple M hit its entry objective. The other two did not. They're off the board. Let's take a look at what we have. About 3M, get out your sticky notes. They're getting a buzz cut around the opening bell. You could see the first zone, 98.85 down to 97.37. Low in the first candle of the day, 97.35. Bounce back to, doesn't look like much on this chart, bounce back to a high of 98.75, giving you the minimum required base hit and then some. And therefore, right out of the gate, this trade is done. It's over. You pack it in. You're on to the next thing. The numbers work. Look what happened into the end of the day with that third number. Now, they creeped into the third number, so you wouldn't want it late in the morning, leading into lunchtime, creeping into a number. That's not what you want. They already gave you the trade early in the day, first part of the day, first candle or two of the day. What's going on over in Camp IWM? Bit of a gap and crap situation, closing below yesterday's closing price after having gapped up early in the day. Quite interesting. There was relative strength early, crap out situation. Canary in the coal mine-ish, my favorite market leading indicator. You'll see Team Transports, Buttigieg's crew, also finished in the red on the day. Are these leading indicators? My number 1 and 2, a number 1 canary in the coal mine. We'll see about that. Certainly, and if you just look to the left, if they can't close above the high of this breakdown candle, just say day after day after day. If they do close above, you get 1 day above, okay, that's something. 2 days above in a row, that's something else. That's called follow through, call it confirmation, call it whatever you want. But so far, they've yet to close above. So therefore, all they've done so far is run a test of an important place and have summarily been rejected thus far. That's the read in Team or Camp IWM. Remember, get out your sticky notes from the 3M situation. Very similar situation for the folks down at the transportation department. They gapped up, finished below yesterday's close. That's not a positive. It doesn't have to be a wild negative. It could be a one-day thing and they can go right back up tomorrow, but it can't be a positive. So we start to focus in. We start to narrow things down. Can't be a positive. Same story with the IWM. B, my favorite market leading indicator, IWM. Second favorite, transports. Favorite canary in the coal mine, transports. Are they telling us something? There's 2 items there. The evidence begins to build. It's how we put together the pieces to the puzzle. Above all the moving averages, trend is your friend in the bull case. Weekly chart, daily chart. Challenging former high general area. Not able to get through on the first run up. Not uncommon. Garden variety breakdown box. Run a test of a breakdown box. What happens here? Do they have a shallow, bearish or bullish, flaggish, pullbackish scenario, building energy for another move higher? Or are they really rejected? We don't know yet. They haven't really been rejected. This is day 1 up there. Again, you have to be the umpire calling balls and strikes. Look at it objectively. You want to look at the bear case? Fine. Look at the bear case, but give an equal proportion of time and energy to the bull case, both directions. What about the Qs? Anything wrong over here? Absolutely not. Up almost 0.5% on the day. So far, between the last 2 or 3 days, they're eating time off the clock, grinding in a melt-up situation above all the moving averages. Nothing wrong until something is identified to be wrong. How is something identified to be wrong? The first order of business, go back a few minutes in the video, we look for a sign and or signal of a trend change. It starts from an intraday perspective and it morphs from there. Go back to the 3M situation. Get out your sticky notes. There's a method to the madness. Almost forgot to bring this one up. We're circling back to Quanta Services or Power PWR. What are we looking at? Traders in the live room heard my orders go off. My orders went off at 187.50. I'll spare you the rhetoric. We had 2 numbers. Once they got to 187.50, I couldn't resist it anymore. Got a part of the rocket ride back in the other direction along with several other traders in the live room. This was a real-time situation. Live room trade only. We've got something for everybody. Generally speaking, we're going to find stuff during the morning session. Let's take a look deeper at what this one was. So here's a daily chart. I have a number underneath a 200 period moving average, 187.50. What is 187.50? What does it represent? Well, is it in the neighborhood of this pivot high here? And what does that pivot high there represent? Well, let's look at it objectively. So the market ran up to that place and couldn't get through, and it ate time off the clock for about 2 trading weeks, give or take. Then it busted above, went all the way up, came back to do what? To run a test of a former breakout area coinciding with a 200 period moving average. And now traders from the live room understand a little bit deeper about just why I couldn't resist that price. Happened a little after 11 o'clock this morning. A lot of us took the trade together. I didn't wait for the whopper. I took a base hit and maybe classify it as a stand-up double on the trailer. Nice trade. The numbers work. A lot of times you'll find the exact same situation on one of the swing trades from the Auto Magical swing trade system. This one didn't happen to be in there, but I caught it from an intraday perspective. We got the benefit. Something for everybody. XLF, anything doing? This is an hourly chart. Go to the daily chart. No, they're in basically the same place they were yesterday, plus 6 cents. Any material change? No. What are they doing? They're eating time off the clock based on yesterday and today up in this very smallish range. Nothing more, nothing less. Take it at face value. Smashmouth, Philadelphia Semiconductors. Are they extended from home base? Yes. What are they doing? Same thing the financials are doing. They're eating time off the clock over the last couple of days. Same thing the Qs are doing. It's all the same stuff. There will be a pullback. From exactly what price and on what day. You'll wake up one day and they'll tug the rug a little bit. They'll have a big down day. Could be a one-day wonder. Last 2 or 3 days, they'll reset the tape, recock the gun. That's the way this thing works. Are they going to send a postcard when that day begins? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. We haven't seen one yet. How about Bitcoin? Been asked about this in the live room. We talked about it, I believe, this morning. And yesterday, and I said, it was yesterday, and I said, when asked, where is support? And I said 38 to 36.5 in that zone. It's a big zone, but that's support-ish. And that's pretty much where they are now. Low so far, 38.5. So they're approaching that support zone. Buy the rumor, sell the news. Talked about it in here long before it happened. Buy the rumor, sell the news. Don't believe the media. Don't listen to your neighbor. Don't listen to Uncle Teddy. None of them know anything. Fab 7, Amazon. Anything wrong with Amazon? No, the trend is your friend. They're just beating on these highs. It's in an uptrend. They're grinding. There's nothing new in Amazon. If you're long, you stay long. The target, which is the blue line, is 163.50. That's your target in Amazon. Put that on a sticky note. What about Apple? Nice several-day run right back above all the moving averages. Trend is your friend. Running out of a little steam here. They're into an area from which they broke down. You can debate and define exactly where that was. It doesn't matter. You could say, hey, look, they got up to this area and they couldn't get through. They tried, and they melted away, and they broke down. Can they run sideways for a while, build some energy, and make another push higher? Absolutely. Can they get rejected from here? If the market's going to get rejected, then Apple will likely get rejected. If the market's going to melt up and grind up, Apple could go sideways, but it's unlikely Apple falls apart. Microsoft, anything wrong here? Above all the moving averages, trend is your friend. Where are they on the weekly chart? They're in a strong uptrend. Each and every time they get a little bit far from home base, they come back a little bit toward home base or eat time off the clock and let home base creep up to price. No new information there, therefore no change. Eventually, and you look out a little bit, this is a monthly chart, you could say, well, okay, well, where are they going to come back to when they do pull back? Well, for starters, how about this as a most recent breakout area. This is where they made new highs, right? So they're eventually going to come back and run a test of that area. From what price? We don't know yet. Could be 4.25. We have no idea. But that area right around 363, 365, whatever that number is up there, they're going to come back and run a test of that. And if they get below that, what's the next thing we look at from a big picture perspective? We look back to the left and we find the next one and we say, well, guess what? There it is. Then what we do, and I'm giving you a little bit extra tonight, then what we do is we run a fib and we say, well, where did they make a top? Let's say they made a top over here. Well, where does that black line come in? Does a black line come in at 382? Does it come in at 25% retracement, a 50% retracement, somewhere in between? Where is that? Is it meaningful? So then you have what? The makings of a full stack situation, a fib retracement, a most recent or former breakout area. What else you got down in there? And you'll have other stuff on other charts. And this is how we put together the trades. How about Google? Daily chart above all the moving averages. Trend is your friend. Anything wrong with the weekly? How about an uptrend? How about approaching highs over here? Nothing wrong. There's nothing that says they have to get rejected. Nothing that says they have to bust it through. We don't know. We look for signs and or signals of some either character change, trend change, or continuation, meaning a bust through the highs or breakout situation. How about Mr. and Mrs. Monster NVIDIA? It's just a monster stock extended away from home base. Doesn't mean it can't go higher, just the fact it's extended away from home base. Doesn't mean it's a short. 600 is a psychological round number. Can they get to 6.25, 610, 612? Of course they can. It's just a number at new highs. You look at a monthly chart and you say, well, where's this going to stop? Does it have to be at 600? You could have said the same thing at 400, 420, 450, 500, 550. You get the point? You could have said that at 275. Don't get in front of a freight train. How many times is it going to run out of gas before it runs you over? Meta, uptrend. Anything wrong with Meta? You see the theme here. The Fab 7, daily charts, weekly charts. Not all. We'll get to that in a minute. But you see the trend. The trend is your friend. They're not telling us anything material different than the overall market is telling us. We look for anomalies. I'm looking for things that are telling me a different tale. I'm not finding it in the Fab 7 other than Tesla. Tesla's an individual case basis. It's the opposite of all the rest. It's not an indicator of the overall market. It's, for this exercise, the exception rather than the rule. Weekly chart, below all the moving averages. I think that's of note. That's a puzzle piece that's on the table. This low here is important, 194.07. You give up that low on weekly close, and I think there's a whole nother leg lower possible and a whole nother leg lower that will increase the probabilities that it does come to where, I'll tell you, near 170. We'll refine it if and when needed, but that low at 194 is going to be uber important in Tesla. If I told you how much I appreciate each and every one of you, without you, these videos are not possible. That is true and accurate information. We're pulling the ripcord here today. I'm David Frost, My Strategic Forecast. Thanks again for tuning in to another episode of Common Sense Market Analysis.